Chapter 31. There were two men in the company who caused me particular discomfort. One was a little Swede, about 25 years old, who knew only one song, and he was forever singing it. By day we were all crowded into one small, stifling bar room, and so there was no escaping this person's music. Through all the profanity, whiskey-guzzling, old sledge, and quarreling, this monotonous song meandered with never a variation in its tiresome sameness, and it seemed to me at last that I would be content to die in order to be rid of the torture. The other man was a stalwart ruffian called Arkansas, who carried 2 revolvers in his belt and a bowie knife projecting from his boot, and who was always drunk and always suffering for a fight. But he was so feared that nobody would accommodate him. He would try all manner of little wary ruses to entrap somebody into an offensive remark, and his face would light up now and then when he fancied he was fairly on the scent of a fight. But invariably his victim would elude his toils, and then he would show a disappointment that was almost pathetic. The landlord, Johnson, was a meek, well-meaning fellow, and Arkansas fastened on him early as a promising subject and gave him no rest day or night for a while. On the 4th morning, Arkansas got drunk and sat himself down to wait for an opportunity. Presently Johnson came in, just comfortably sociable with whiskey, and said, "I reckon the Pennsylvania election—" Arkansas raised his finger impressively, and Johnson stopped. Arkansas rose unsteadily and confronted him. Said he, "What do you know about Pennsylvania? Answer me that. What do you know about Pennsylvania?" "I was only going to say—" "You was only going to say, you was only going to say, what was you going to say? That's it. That's what I want to know. I want to know what do you know about Pennsylvania, since you're making yourself so damned free? Answer me that. Mr. Arkansas, if you'd only let me—" "Who's a-hindering you? Don't you insinuate nothing agin me. Don't you do it. Don't you come in here bulling around and cussing and going on like a lunatic. Don't you do it, 'cause I won't stand it. If a fight's what you want, out with it. I'm your man. Out with it," said Johnson, backing into a corner, Arkansas following menacingly. "Why, I never said nothing, Mr. Arkansas. You don't give a man no chance. I was only going to say that Pennsylvania was going to have an election next week. That was all. That was everything I was going to say. I wish I may never stir if it wasn't." "Well, and why didn't you say it? What do you come swelling around that way for and trying to raise trouble?" "Well, I didn't come swelling around, Mr. Arkansas. I just— Am I a liar, am I? Great Caesar's ghost!" "Oh, please, Mr. Arkansas, I never meant such a thing as that. I wish I may die if I did. All the boys would tell you that I've always spoke well of you and respected you more than any man in the house. Ask Smith. Ain't it so, Smith? Didn't I say no longer than last night that for a man that was a gentleman all the time and every way you took him, give me Arkansas? I leave it to any gentleman here if it weren't them very words I used. Come now, Mr. Arkansas, let's take a drink. Let's shake hands, take a drink. Come up, everybody. It's my treat. Come up, Bill, Tom, Bob, Scotty, come up. I want you all to take a drink with me in Arkansas. Old Arkansas. I call him Bully Old Arkansas. Give me your hand again. Look at him, boys. Just take a look at him. There stands the whitest man in America, and the man that denies has got to fight me, that's all. Give me that old flipper again." They embraced, with drunken affection on the landlord's part and unresponsive toleration on the part of Arkansas, who, bribed by a drink, was disappointed of his prey once more. But the foolish landlord was so happy to escape butchery that he went on talking when he ought to have marched himself out of danger. The consequence was that Arkansas shortly began to glower upon him dangerously, and presently said, "Landlord, will you please make that remark over again, if you please? I was a-saying to Scotty that my father was upwards of 80-year-old when he died." "Was that all that you said?" "Yes, that was all." "Didn't say nothing about that?" "No, nothing." Then an uncomfortable silence. Arkansas played with his glass a moment, lolling on his elbow on the counter. Then he meditatively scratched his left shin with his right boot, while the awkward silence continued. But presently he loafed away towards the stove, looking dissatisfied, roughly shouldered 2 or 3 men out of a comfortable position, occupied it himself, gave a sleeping dog a kick that sent him howling under a bench, then spread his long legs and his blanket coat-tails apart, and proceeded to warm his back. In a little while he fell to grumbling to himself, and soon he slouched back to the bar and said, "Landlord, what's your idea for raking up old personalities and blowing about your father? Ain't this company agreeable to you, ain't it? If this company ain't agreeable to you, perhaps we'd better leave. Is that your idea? Is that what you're coming at?" "Well, bless your soul, Arkansas, I weren't thinking of no such thing. My father and my mother—" "Landlord, don't crowd a man. Don't do it. If nothing'll do you but a disturbance, out with it like a man. But don't rake up no old bygones and fling 'em in the teeth of a passel of people that wants to be peaceable if they could get a chance. What's the matter with you this morning, anyway? I never see a man carry on so." "Arkansas, I really didn't mean no harm. I wouldn't go on with it if it was unpleasant to you. I reckon my liquor's got into my head, and with the flood and having so many to feed and look out for." "So that's what's rankling in your heart, is it? You want us to leave, do you? There's too many of us. You want us to pack up and swim. Is that it? Come." "Please be reasonable, Arkansas. Now you know that I ain't the man to—" "Are you threatening me? Are you? By George, the man don't live that can skeer me. Don't you try to come that game, my chicken, 'cause I can stand a good deal, but I won't stand that. Come on out from behind that bar till I clean you. You want to drive us out, do you, you sneaking, underhanded hound? Come on out behind that bar. I'll learn you to bully and badger and browbeat a gentleman that's forever trying to befriend you and keep you out of trouble. Please, Arkansas, please don't shoot. If there's got to be bloodshed—" "Do you hear that, gentlemen? Do you hear him talk about bloodshed? So it's blood you want, is it, you raving desperado? You'd made up your mind to murder somebody this morning. I knowed it perfectly well. I'm the man, am I? It's me you're going to murder, is it? But you can't do it that I get one chance first, you thieving, black-hearted, white-livered son of a nigger. Draw your weapon." With that, Arkansas began to shoot, and the landlord to clamber over benches, men in every sort of obstacle, in a frantic desire to escape. In the midst of the wild hubbub, the landlord crashed through a glass door, and as Arkansas charged after him, the landlord's wife suddenly appeared in the doorway and confronted the desperado with a pair of scissors. Her fury was magnificent. With head erect and flashing eye, she stood a moment and then advanced, with her weapon raised. The astonished ruffian hesitated, then fell back a step. She followed. She backed him step by step into the middle of the barroom, and then, while the wondering crowd closed up and gazed, she gave him such a tongue-lashing as never a cowed and shamefaced braggart got before, perhaps. As she finished and retired victorious, a roar of applause shook the house, and every man ordered drinks for the crowd in one and the same breath. The lesson was entirely sufficient. The reign of terror was over, and the Arkansas domination broken for good. During the rest of the season of island captivity, there was one man who sat apart in a state of permanent humiliation, never mixing in any quarrel or uttering a boast, and never resenting the insults the once cringing crew now constantly leveled at him, and that man was Arkansas.